Well, hello everybody, this is Craig of the Pacific War Channel. I'm joined here by my friend Ian. How are you?
Hello, doing very well, and yourself?
Very good. And we're going to see if Craig might get canceled today, as we're going to try something very different. If you are clicking on this and I had the balls to put it on Spotify or something, I think I'm going to call it Politically Incorrect History. I'm not going to lie, I want to do a little disclaimer. Historian Craig, forget about this guy that you've known for a long time. We are two guys, we've been having a few beers. We're going to intentionally tell bad history. We are comedians today. This is less history, more comedy.
I think it's your stop, like you're stopping by and you're listening in on an average conversation amongst ourselves. Sometimes
your uncle who drinks like 6 beers.
It has to be the uncle.
and he watches Fox News. We're not even American.
Yeah, it's funny. Eric, my brother Eric.
You just doxed your brother, but yeah, sure. The audience has met Eric.
Erica. Erica. So eventually he's gonna have a kid, and I can't wait to be Uncle Ian because I am going to be. I really will embody being an uncle.
Hey everyone, I just wanted to let you know I now have a Patreon account found at www.patreon.com/thepacificwarchannel. Over there you can find exclusive Patreon episodes and podcasts based on suggestions from patrons, and other benefits like early access to all of my content, live hangouts, your name in the end credits, and much, much more. So please go check it out.
But this is a disclaimer.
Just like that uncle who's at Thanksgiving who might drink a little too much and gets a little too historical and political. Okay, I don't know how to sell it.
Have you ever heard about the tale of how Churchill met FDR?
Or that Churchill was an experienced pilot and he loved to fly planes. And sometimes he shouldn't have.
Yeah. This is a disclaimer to everyone who's clicked this. If you are a long-time listener of me, this is going to be different. You might not like this. I am sorry. Straight up, credit where credit's due. We're both huge fans of Shane Gillis and his secret podcast. We love when he does his historical rants.
He goes on a historical rant and he's just like, like the other day I was listening to him and he just started talking about like the siege of Vicksburg and the U.S. Civil War, and it was just like, fuck yeah. It's just like, he's like talking about like, okay, it's the first like the siege of Vicksburg could be said like that was the first implementation of modern warfare, like trench warfare and modern siege.
So what I'm saying is, if you don't know who that is, this is gonna make no sense. We're both huge cum boys. That sounds bad. We like Cumtown. Mm-hmm. So you can if you know what that is, you can only imagine how we're degenerates. Okay.
It's the podcast. You're not allowed calling the podcast by its name whenever they're on somebody else's thing, and it's like, would you like to plug your podcast? And they'd be like, just look up my name.
But we are going like I'll title this episode. It's gonna be pretty raunchy stuff, and we're gonna try and like not say anything too bad. We'll see where
we're going to hell for this one.
But this is an experiment. This isn't going to be a regular thing. Unless it does, well, then it's certainly going to be a goddamn regular thing. You're going to hear some curses. You're going to hear us say some things.
I was going to say, like, I'm not going to be watching my language.
If you weren't...
I swear like a sailor as is, and...
If you were not in, like, 2006 in a Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 chat room where, you know, we said things that we're not proud of, you might not understand this podcast.
I meant every word I said about other people's mothers.
Exactly. And
but actually, Modern Warfare 2 lobbies.
I do still want to try and keep this with, you know, we're going to talk history and stuff. This is going to go off the rocker. I mean, we're going to say whatever the fuck we say. But I was thinking, you know, to start the first one off, we had a lot of ideas. We were pitching forward as we were drinking beers before this. I thought let's just say like dumb things about World War II. Like start it off there because there's like so much funny crap about World War II we can get into, and you know we can talk about.
Sure.
And one thing I know the audience has heard it already once, but fuck it. Ian, would you please give us a little like sonnet of the Churchill story?
A couple of Churchill stories. So this is one thing like I read from his biography, and I just love it. So Churchill was a seasoned pilot. And he loved to fly, and the man was very impatient. So usually when you're, you know, a traveling statesman, especially when you're the leader of a nation, like there's protocol to be followed. So the only way I can compare this is, let's imagine Biden.
Oh God,
he's
we're getting canceled.
Yeah,
let's go.
I mean, what's America's biggest war right now? I mean, or biggest
war right
biggest
now.
war, I should say. What's their biggest focal point? Okay, so they're visiting England. The States is visiting England, and because England and Europe, you know, it's something to do with the Ukrainian-Russian war. And
you
so
mean
Biden,
it's the embezzling scam where they're making money.
Multiple delegations are there or whatever. And so Biden and his administration, it's time to go to fly back to the States on Air Force One. But Biden decides to fly the plane instead.
I'm just going to say to the audience, no matter, we're not American, we're Canadian, no matter your political affiliation, I don't think you would trust Biden to fly your plane.
The man is a after like post speech, he just becomes a Roomba. It's just like
you gotta to know the thing, and then they don't want me to talk about that. Forget about and just walk off into the sunset.
Biden, what are you doing down there? That one time Biden met Clint Eastwood.
Oh my God!
We're not going into
that.
But so the point being, Biden flying Air Force One back from England. You know, it sounds preposterous.
Sorry.
It sounds preposterous.
The movie Air Force One with Harrison Ford. You replace that. You replace Harrison Ford with Biden. And can you imagine Biden under the circumstances?
He never flew the plane, did he?
I don't know if he flew the plane, but I mean when the terrorists, it's Gary Oldman is coming after.
He fought the terrorists, but I don't think he was flying.
I'm trying to imagine Biden. Biden would be like, "What's going on in this?" It would be like he wouldn't know what the hell's going on in the plane.
Now, Independence Day, the president used to be a pilot, and that makes sense. He could fly Air Force One.
Why did they let the president fly? And like I know there was a lack of pilots,
because there was a do or die. They win this battle, or else humanity's destroyed anyway. So it was like, to him it was like, okay, why is like all of humanity rising up at this moment to fight back, and I'm cowering in Area 51, even though like they're on their way to take down Area 51 anyway. So it's like, if the pilots at the Air Force at the time, the remnants of it, did not fully win that operation, like everyone would have been dead anyway.
Poking a few holes. I just thought about this now. In that movie, they attacked the White House first. Yet at Area 51, that's where the alien technology is. So like, are we just led to believe the aliens didn't know what was going on there?
They
doesn't
did.
make sense.
No, they did mention it that they're because you see it play out in the film. They had the first strike, second strike, and third strike. The first strike was the political capitals of the world. Like they had a lot of capital ships, but they couldn't hit everything all at once. So they hit all the capitals, and then the secondary secondary capitals, other major cities, and then they were moving into strategic objectives, and that was in the third strike. And the third strike would have been Area 51, because that's where the Americans had holed up their major resistance. Yeah, okay, so this is a tangent off of
back to Churchill.
End of 1941, America just joined the war, and Churchill, he visited the States dubiously, because, he said when he heard that the Americans had joined the war,
he was quite happy.
He had slept the best sleep he had in his life. He called it the sleep of the victorious. So anyways, like it's the anyways, he's in the States, and you know the summit wraps up. He has another fun vacation story in Florida. Florida always seems to be.
Oh boy.
You made a thing about that.
So yeah, Churchill, he had some fun in the sun. He wanted to, get in his trunks and jump into the sea. There's actual full film footage of him swimming.
It was his first vacation during the war, actually, because this was and he said about it. It's like it's the first time he was able to relax. Like he knew that it wasn't just England anymore. Or I can't say just England, but the British Empire. And we were with them.
He got into the water, and I guess like a lemon shark or like a...
what did they say? It was a land shark?
A land shark?
So it's no great white. It's no great white.
It's nothing threatening. Like,
but
whatever.
How many sharks do they have around England? They're not really used to it, and Churchill's out in the water kind of by himself. He doesn't have anyone around him.
Looking like a fat baby.
But like the shark fin is like right beside him. He gets a little terrified and starts swimming back, and all his aides and everyone on the beach said he looked like. Then he came closer to shore, and that's where he would stay, and he would just like bobble up and down. And they said he just looked like a hippo almost, but he had exclaimed that, look, even the terrifying shark is afraid of the magnosity
of me. Oh my god!
But he said he was terrified in that moment.
Like he doesn't know what it is. Like he's just some dumb British shows up in Florida. He's like, oh my god!
You see a shark fin, you immediately, oh my god, a shark! Sharks eat people.
Yeah.
So it was, his time in America. It's wrapped up, and there's protocol to be followed. Okay, to head back to England, but he doesn't want to waste any more time. He's like, no, we're gonna fly straight there, because originally they were gonna take a ship. They had taken a ship.
Normally you do,
yeah, because then you can have more protection. But he's like, no, we've wasted too much time in the States. It's time to get back to business. We're gonna fly. And everyone told him like, no, this is a really bad idea. Like, you should take a ship. It'll take 2 weeks, whatever. But okay, so they get on the plane, and halfway during the journey, Churchill insists that he wants to start flying.
And he's probably had a few drinks in him, because Churchill's schedule.
He's on a plane, he's bored, he's getting anxious, so he starts flying. And not for too long. He was only flying for a few hours, but this is me saying this. He probably put them off course, but it was terrible.
Probably did.
It was terrible weather, their journey across the Atlantic. Like, that is well known, and it did put them off course. And so eventually his main pilot, I forget his name, but it's Churchill's personal pilot. It was Captain something. Anyways, he takes over, and then he makes it known, we have no idea where we are over the Atlantic. It's like, okay, let's just keep heading due east. Like, we got to be coming up on England at any point. And they're a lot more south than they anticipated. Yeah, so south that, they're going to hit land soon, very soon. But what's coming up on them is the port of Brest. If you want to just... so it's early 1942, the port of Brest in France. What would they have there?
A lot of anti-aircraft guns, probably.
And the
radar.
And the bulk of the German surface fleet.
And
so this is not a spot in Europe
where planes
friendly
are
to...
planes are probably trying to smuggle intelligence officers over all the time, so this is not somewhere you want to be an unidentified aircraft flying over.
So they still haven't made landfall. Like, they haven't spotted land. And miraculously, the pilot is like, okay, this isn't working. I have a feeling we're off course. Let's head due north. They were, in fact, like, so close that 5 minutes more, they would have made contact with Brest.
Fuck.
That close. And the Luftwaffe was already in the air tracking them with their basic radar. They just happened to miss it. And so they head north, not knowing they were this close to, coming up on the port of Brest.
Prime Minister of Britain The guy holding up morale almost probably ended up getting free.
Now they're heading north. The fog starts to dissipate, and now they realize they're over the English Channel. It's like, okay, we're heading to England now. Britain's radar picks up the plane, but they pick up the plane coming from the direction of Port Brest.
So what you would think would be Germans, yeah.
Why it can't be anyone else?
Yeah.
Their most major port in Western Europe, and there's a single plane coming in. It's like, okay, a lone bomber, whatever. So an RAF squad of 6 Spitfires is called up and sent in a intercept and kill.
Yep.
Pursuit.
Goddamn.
And here is another stroke of luck. And again, radar is very rudimentary. Radio is very rudimentary at this time. So there's no, calling in, checking in. It's like, hey, this is Churchill's personal craft. It's, the RAF lose them on radar just momentarily, and so they lose track of them. But they were narrowly there, and would have been no telling. They could easily have just swooped in and okay, shoot the plane down and return to base, okay, mission successful, and then be told, yeah, sorry, bad radar target, that was actually Churchill. But anyways, they miraculously miss Churchill's plane. Churchill and his staff, they land eventually in England, and then realized, okay, that was 2 close calls.
Yeah.
They just thought they were a little lost over the Atlantic and then the English Channel, and then, it comes to light, yeah, you almost didn't make it.
Yeah, you almost killed the prime minister of your country.
And this was also, perhaps one of the most powerful men in the world at the time, and he's the one who's leading the, resistance against the Germans in Europe. The resolute lion
himself. He's the
himself.
lion, yeah. The bulldog, actually. They would have called him the bulldog, yeah.
The nation that refused to bow to Germany.
Yeah. He almost went out like a bitch.
By, completely avoidable circumstances. Some argue, okay, if Churchill never took the wheel of the plane, they would have been fine, never gone off track.
Nothing would have gone wrong, yeah.
If they'd just gone by ship, as protocol dictates, that would never have happened. But, that's Churchill. He's what he wants, he gets.
You know what this reminds me of, though? Thinking about misidentifying accidents. Since I am the Pacific War guy, and I've had a few drinks with me, I could talk about a little thing that's so dumb and embarrassing, and it of course happened to the greatest state of the United States, where no one is currently fleeing because of idiotic policies or anything. I'm just saying that as a Canadian. But in California, this is part of the Pacific War, there was a certain battle that took place. It's infamously known as the Battle of Los Angeles.
Did you mention that to me the other day? And I immediately went oh, okay,
to the movie?
I went to the movie. It's like, okay,
by the way, underappreciated.
I thought
movie.
we're gonna have a history podcast, but I like that movie, so I'll talk about it.
By the way,
what did I say? The water stealing goblins.
Yeah,
water stealing space goblins.
Whatever. People are gonna knock on movies. It was original. It was actually kind of cool.
Good.
If you wanted to see how real Marines or US,
it wasn't Army. It was real Marine Corps.
Yeah. I'm sorry. People really knocked on that film, but it was kind of cool.
It showed the quick reaction time of the American military. Because the aliens came out of nowhere, and then they landed, and then within hours,
and then they actually stormed the beaches like it's D-Day. It's kind of weird. You have intergalactic ships, but you land in the goddamn ocean.
What was cool about that film, because they weren't so advanced.
No, they were similar to us. They were very similar to us.
It would never happen that way. If you can circumvent the restrictions of interstellar travel. Yeah. You're not going to be limited to just rudimentary projectile weapons, and their tech. Okay, they were very low tech infantry.
Yes,
and I just don't believe that would be the case if we're invaded by aliens.
But you look at a movie like Signs, intergalactic travel, and they were stopped by a wooden fucking door. We have this kind of theme in our movies.
Wasn't it water burnt them or?
Oh yeah, it was water that burnt them. So we got Battle of Los Angeles, the movie, by the way, where like they're coming to steal our water, and then you got signs where it's like, oh, we're going to invade a planet. Oh shit, water is literally acid to us, and it covers 80% of the land mass.
These two would have a good like trade agreement, and I'll give you all the water, and the other guys get that water off our planet.
That's a handshake deal, Mister.
Yeah.
But so the Battle of Los
Battle
Angeles,
of LA, let's go.
The Battle of Los Angeles I want to talk about is not well known for a real reason. They hid it for many years. I think only in the 1980s the United States government finally told the public what happened. But basically,
Isn't this like they really went balls to the wall in their defense? Like they scrambled, and it was
so. You gotta imagine you're the common American grunt who decided to join the freaking Coast Guard. Basically, these guys are holding down anti-aircraft guns on the California coast in case the Japanese menace decides to invade America.
What year is this?
That's 42.
Okay, so 42 pre-Midway or post?
Oh, this is I think it's pre.
If it's pre-Midway,
no, this is
pre-Midway, the States is still absolutely terrified of the Japanese Butai. Like it's a menace.
This is
it can pop up anywhere.
This is right off the heel of a few months of absolute mayhem. The Japanese are taking Malaya, Singapore, the Philippines is being attacked. I think they're still fighting in Bataan. Dutch East Indies, everything. Like so, the Japanese are running like rampant.
Some panic is warranted. That the
colloquially we'd say they're running a train on America.
We're gifted, with 2020 vision of hindsight.
Well, I mean, not with the beers in our hands, but we've got about like an 18-20. So these Coast Guard kind of guys. I mean, they're not Coast Guard guys. They're actual battalions. They're like garrisoning.
It's the coastal
battery guys.
Yeah, coastal battery. Yeah.
So these are the weekend warriors. Okay, I'm being mean. Okay, like Dan Carlin's grandfather is apparently part of this, or was his dad or his grandfather? Dan Carlin actually told this story once because literally a member of his family was involved in this. It's hilarious. But what ended up happening is the Japanese did have an ambitious kind of like little jab at the United States coast. They sent some submarines to shell some like factories and stuff. Nothing big, but in the time span of let's say about 2 weeks, a few places on the western coast of the United States got hit. Even one lighthouse in Canada, by the way, a dumb story. A lighthouse got shot at. They got the Japanese submarine missed.
Touch our lighthouses.
You don't fuck with BC.
My family's from Nova Scotia, and
complete opposite end of the other side.
I know, but Nova Scotia has a lot of lighthouses, and we love our lighthouses.
All that they have.
It's true.
Nothing else.
One of the biggest tourist attractions in Nova Scotia is just the one
lighthouse. And lighthouses.
I remember being there as a kid. And
Nova Scotia's Trailer Park Boys, I guess, and then lighthouses.
The Blue Nose.
Oh my god! Okay, yeah, the Blue Nose. Blue, yeah, sure.
Blue Nose. Like, okay, it's a ship, and it was the fastest ship in the world for the longest time.
All right. You're gonna praise Nova Scotia, but so in the Battle of Los Angeles, what ends up happening is the Japanese, these submarines, they unsubmerge themselves. They throw a few shells at some like old forts randomly, and does no damage. There's no actual threat.
What is the cannon that's on the sub? It's like it's not a 203. It's like a smaller caliber than that.
3.2 inch. I don't know. It's a small one. You got one. It's like a 3.2 inch or something like that. It's nothing severe.
It's what a light cruiser would have, and the distinction between a light cruiser and a heavy cruiser is a heavy cruiser, once they have 203 millimeter, then it's a heavy cruiser.
I'm an idiot. Pacific War, I can't even think. I think it's like 3 inches.
It's probably like similar to destroyer caliber gun, which is like more along the lines of 100 millimeter to 120. Some of them 150. So
basically, what I'm trying to say is,
they're small. They're small shells.
These samurai fucks, they show up to the United States' doorstep and they start lobbing some shells at a factory or something. They're starting to scare people. So all of a sudden, the United States government is like, be aware. The Japanese had shot at some place, blah blah blah, in some oil field thing, and they might be invading at any moment. Like
the whole of the Kido Butai is there. The whole of the Japanese Navy, which has been running rampant up until this point.
Sure, But I'm sorry,
it's pre Midway.
This isn't Man in the High Castle. There is no somehow miracle beachhead that somehow they're going to defeat.
We know that with hindsight, but at the time, like
they did, yeah.
The American populace knew that Japan was, and still the American Navy was in fear of the Japanese Navy.
So some complete asshole puts out the message to be wary of possible Japanese incursions, and basically what they're saying is, oh, one of these submarines might pop up and fire 20 shells and then run away, basically. But basically, all these guys, they're on the coast of California. They're manning their guns, and they're antsy because they've been told to be like aware that something might happen. So some guy,
he probably saw a butterfly or something like that, something stupid,
to this
like
day.
A flicker like in his peripherals or something.
But, UFO nuts will love this one. It's the cliche.
Oh, that would be cool. Actually,
weather balloon.
Oh, that would be cool.
Oh, there has been UFO conspiracy
nuts
about this. So
World War II UFO sightings.
Something shiny was seen in the air, and some guy freaked the fuck out, and he starts firing off his battery. As you can imagine, everyone's been told to be wary. This is like, I think at 12 o'clock at night or something. It's really late at night. Almost every battery is going off. They are firing like wild into the air. It sets a chain fire.
At this point in time, California, the West Coast in particular, is riddled with anti. Like and they're still in the process of arming the coast. Like, and we're talking about shore battery guns for naval vessels, the AA potential, like just scattered. You know, this is the entire American industrial might, like just putting gun emplacements everywhere. It's a fortress.
Your drunk uncle, your drunk dad who's retired, who joined like the weekend warrior types. Like, I'm being an asshole. I'm sorry. Anyway, so they start shooting.
This is me when I'm an uncle.
they do this chain reaction. They start firing on this, and unfortunately, some of these shells actually end up damaging like local property. To that.
What goes up must come down.
Yeah. People have car accidents. Some mayhem does happen. Some people die of heart attacks of fear that there's an invasion. That's a very sad. It's kind of sad that this happened. Yeah, some old people probably died, from heart attacks. Help! I'm falling and I can't get up. But things happen, and it turns out it was probably a weather balloon.
It's too hot. It's too liquidy. Sorry, I'm sorry.
So it turns out it's probably a weather balloon some guys saw. They eventually figured it out. They stopped firing. What
if it wasn't a weather balloon and this was...
Oh, it's
this was Little Missy's birthday balloon.
Oh my god.
You know why your parents say hold on to your balloons?
This is why.
Don't let your balloons fly up, because this is why. Then all of a sudden an entire state is firing all their guns, and hold those balloons tight.
They made a cover story, and I kid you not, they covered this up till the 1980s out of embarrassment. The United States Air Force later, that's created after World War II, had to acknowledge that this bullshit thing happened that they called the Battle of Los Angeles.
U.S. Air Force was created in 1945 before the end of
World War II. Yeah, I thought it was right after.
Hap Arnold.
Hap Arnold during?
Yeah, it was during, and this is one of those conspiracies that they dropped the nukes on Japan to give glory to the newly formed U.S. Air Force.
Oh yeah, glory. They didn't really glorify the bomber command. But so the Battle of Los Angeles was withheld from the public's knowledge until like the 80s. They didn't want to really say what happened.
Well, think about how many shells did they fire?
A lot.
Yeah, and what goes up must come down. So everyone's already in a panicky state. All the AA guns are firing. Then you got the civilians going around. There's fucking shells dropping everywhere, and just all of a sudden, probably felt like they were under attack.
As stupid as that sounds, what I just told you the story, I got one for you. For people who know my YouTube channel, I made a short about this, but I couldn't really go into it. The dumbest thing I've ever come across in my entire life about the Pacific War, all my research, I found something called Operation Fantasia. No way you know about this. I don't even remember the guys involved in this.
Is it made by Disney and it was an animated film?
It was inspired by it. Literally.
Jeez.
Operation Fantasia, the precursor to the CIA, the OSS.
Yeah.
I had a few drinks in me. I'm sorry, folks.
The Operation Special Service.
Some guy, I forget who, because I remember in the short I named him. There was some guy, and they have him on the record. He came up with the most idiotic idea I've ever heard. He found out, because he was looking up ways to defeat the Japanese. He was like, okay, let's look into their Shinto beliefs. What is Shinto about? And he comes across their
spirits, right? Mostly.
It's all sorts of things.
I know. That's
like Princess
wrong
Mononoke shit here. We're getting into the hardcore shit. We're both otakus.
Oh fuck.
Okay.
Yeah,
Foxes.
Good movie, by the way.
Yes, of course. It's Studio Ghibli. It's a very good movie.
No, Studio Ghibli has some stupid movies. Also, well, okay. Just to go on a tangent for a second. So I do love Studio Ghibli.
Studio Ghibli's
and the two Studio Ghibli films that stand out to me is Princess Mononoke and Grave of Fireflies. Yeah. Now I've met a lot of girls that they love anime, and their big thing is like Studio Ghibli. Like I was dating this one girl, she had like several Studio Ghibli tattoos, and I'm like, so you've seen Grave of the Fireflies? Her whole thing.
You didn't ask her that.
Her whole thing was but her whole thing was Studio Ghibli.
No.
And then I was like, okay, you must know Grave of the Fireflies, and she's like, no, it's like the one that I didn't see, and we watched it one time, and like she was crying at the end, and
so
it was a bad film to put on.
You're like, oh, but this is let me reenact this for you. Oh yeah, I'm gonna impress her by showing her this artistic movie. I'm gonna get laid tonight. Oh, why are you crying? Oh no, why is your soul shattered? Oh no, why must I console you the whole night?
Usually Studio Ghibli films, they're very hard. They're fun, and those are the ones she had watched and was into and getting tattoos of. I don't think she got
I'm just gonna bring it back to Ian's real love, where he merges his passion of world warships and anime as her lane. That's what you should have showed her.
No, she'd get jealous of my anime wife, my ship
your
waifus.
What the hell was I talking about? Okay, so this fucking. I'm gonna finish the story. Goddammit. This guy, he's working for the OSS. So this guy is basically he's CIA, and he's trying to figure out how to defeat the enemies, the Japanese. And he's like, okay, in Shintoism, they believe that the fox represents a malevolent spirit. So his grand idea to sow dissent within Japan in Japanese villages is he's going to use radioactive paint on foxes.
Oh yes!
And he's going to throw them into villages in Japan.
Because it would make them glow?
Yes, at night. And this would be a bad omen to scare the Japanese. There are people who signed documents. This is a real mission. They actually did this.
I feel so bad for the foxes. I'm an animal lover.
They painted foxes. I couldn't find photos. They didn't take photos of this. It's so funny. You think I guess they burnt them.
Well, even themselves, you're like, this is really fucked up. We're actually doing this.
There was some guy.
We're actually doing it, and
some guy was like,
there's one guy. No, like we've gone this far. There's no turning back. We're doing it.
And then he was like, oh, it's not practical. We can't get the foxes with the radioactive paint on them over to Japan. Let's make fox balloons that are radioactive that'll like glow at night.
Either way, you just need two things. You need foxes. You need something radioactive. It's just make it happen.
It's like people make fun of the Japanese for the Fugo balloon thing, where they sent these balloons with bombs across, the channel.
Their bubonic plague.
There was some, but
they were experimenting with that. Like, how do we get the bubonic plague to in the States? Also, at this time, if you dropped the bubonic plague, it would have been like quashed pretty easily.
Oh, they used it in China. It worked. Oh,
yeah, but it's also the American population. Most of them are inoculated, and it would.
But the Fugo bomb, it was incendiary. They were going to burn forests in California and stuff. Again, it's always California. They tried to burn California forests.
And California is still burning.
And the Japanese didn't have to do shit. That thing burns every year under Gavin Newsom. Fucking shots fired. Sorry.
I was gonna say never burned under Schwarzenegger, but
there you go.
He has said that was always that was the test of his governorship. It was the forest fires.
We are two Canadians. We are not American, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it. It has been said multiple times. The problem currently with those wildfires is a lack of funding for the firefighting forces, and that it could be regulated better.
The only thing that can prevent forest fires
is you.
No, it's not me. I don't live in California. It's not me. It's on you guys. Fix your shit.
You know what? I'm sorry. I'm gonna go off on a tangent. So we got radioactive foxes. I've done so much content over the years of dumb, freaking really dumb ideas. Have you heard of the bat bombs from the Pacific War?
You just really wanted to strap bombs to anything.
I got more of
anything with a heartbeat. Put a bomb on it.
I got 3 of these.
Now we have drones to like.
Before
to do these this is okay. This is early drone warfare.
This is early
because now this is basically what drones are doing.
Okay, you
without a heartbeat, which is thankfully.
Excuse me.
Okay, so bat bombs.
I'm not kidding. They made 2 mock villages of like Japanese villages because, as we know, it's mostly paper and wood, right? It is literally perfect kindling wood. Incendiary weapons.
Oh yeah,
horrifying.
That's why the fire bombings in Tokyo were
terrible,
more devastating than both of the nuclear bombs combined.
Absolutely.
Also, like the science behind, like when I read up on the science behind the bombing, like what actually happened within the city when the fire bombings were going on, like
people melting.
Yeah, it just got hotter and hotter and hotter, and that's the nature of fire. And when you have more fuel for the fire, and basically everything around it is
extra
fuel,
and the water wouldn't save you either. There's people who die just getting boiled, depending on where you were.
Well, I mean, I'm thinking more. It was the bombings in Dresden, but this is basically because in Dresden, they had the bomb shelters, but the bombings were so severe that when they went into the bomb shelters after, there weren't people in there anymore. There was just
I explained this to my wife.
It was people goo. Basically, people melted down to because it was just such an ambient heat going on in the city, and that did make its way down.
Yeah,
and then just melted people into a sludge.
I've actually the current show. I haven't. I'm waiting for it to completely premiere, but you know the band. The next Band of Brothers, Masters of the Air.
Masters of the Air. It's on Apple.
I imagine they're talking about the bombing of Dresden. I would imagine.
Do you know anything about it? Like, is it British Bomber Command or is it U.S.?
I believe it's British Bomber Command. So it's Dresden.
Okay, I'd rather watch British Bomber Command than U.S.
I don't. I both are terrible.
Well, the British were taking on the daring missions. The Americans, like, they got very comfortable with, high.
Oh, by the time they were doing that, the Japanese Air Forces were done. At least
no, I'm thinking, like, because this one's in Europe, the show.
Yeah. But you know that the British Bomber Command, they ended up, parts of them moved to Japan. Like, remnants, that's what built the Bomber Command that Hap Arnold would use, because Hap Arnold learned in Europe, and then he came over and hit Japan. So it's kind of, I don't know if they're going to do both. I have no idea about the show. If they're
where it's going.
I would do both because I think Dresden and we'll just say Tokyo instead of all the places in Japan.
Yeah, oh, geez. Actually, no. That's an interesting way to do it. Yeah, the evolution of American bombing command.
The American and the British went from each other.
It was Army Bomber Command.
Because the British Bomber Command, they had plans that never ended up happening, but they wanted to have bombers coming out of like basically Egypt that were going to hit all these other targets in like Europe. But anyways, it didn't work out. It didn't work out that way.
Like hated entity in the British military.
Reviled.
Yeah, and it's like they were just doing their job. They did what they were told to do.
I mean, but you.
Yeah, it was ruthless.
It was terrible. I don't think because you had mentioned something in a drunk tirade.
When your nation is being bombed, every day, where your entire population is going underground and into the rural areas, send your children into the rural areas, into wardrobes and such. Lion, Witch, and Wardrobe is based on a true story.
Yeah, that's actually true. Yes.
Well, the whole thing that
from
happens...
From the Blitz. That's from the
No,
Blitz
but the whole thing that happens in the wardrobe is a true story. That was the joke.
You didn't getting at that shit, but...
you're...
And I want to reiterate
I was setting up a joke there, and then,
they didn't reiterate to the audience, because you kind of glossed over it. Ian was mentioning that during the bombing of Dresden, because on a serious note from this comedic podcast, by the way, like he said, these people in Dresden, they were told to go to bomb shelters made out of probably solid concrete underneath.
On paper, yeah, these shelters are
bomb-proof. Sure. The thing is, they weren't planning for such a massive amount of incendiary bombs. When all of this heat and fire above the bunkers kept heating, the people that were in those bunkers got melted into a glue of people. It's disgusting.
It was a sludge that they said. It was just like they would open the bunkers and it would be like a foot of just human sludge. And it's just like it's probably
horrifying.
Like they make 80s horror films about like stuff.
Well,
no, they haven't. But like this is like nightmarish hellscape. Like you would have like just teeth.
Yeah.
Like the only things not to melt would be like the teeth and bits of bones and.
But to get back to a more comedic sense, because it's horrifying.
In the wardrobe, the lion Aslan. Sorry,
Lion Aslan.
The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Okay, so
why are children trusting a talking lion anyways? It's a little weird.
Because he's God. He says it in the books and the movie.
The lion is God?
Yeah, he says it. He says it in the book and the movie that you have met me in your world. In here, I am a lion, but in your world, I am something else. Never explain what. I mean, is it Allah? Is it God? Is it Jesus? Is it Yahweh? I mean, or if it's Colonel Sanders, I mean, it could be.
Colonel Sanders.
I like to think that Colonel Sanders died and became Aslan.
In the words of the late and great Colonel Sanders, I am too drunk to taste this chicken.
But, okay, so in the Blitz, the point that I was trying to make, and for Bomber Command, is they're getting bombed every day by the Luftwaffe. Like, basically, it's become a regular occurrence. Send your children out into the countryside, and the population's still in the cities. Like, you go underground every night, and you're basically living in underground. Like, that's it became so regular. So when you have the opportunity to strike back, and let's remember, so what's the greatest thing England had going for it at its time? And this might be a little bias of me, but Canada. What does Canada have? Abundant industry.
Building those bombers.
Yeah, we didn't have the population of the States, but we had raw resources. We had just about everything needed to manufacture what was needed. And we became the number one supplier to England in the war. It's just we were just making Lancasters like crazy, which is the most used, or the most proficient English bomber.
Yep.
I believe it was the B-24 Liberator was like the first one, and then it gets phased out into the Lancaster, but the Lancaster was a beautiful machine. And we were just like pumping them out. So eventually, like, Bomber Command in England, it's starting to swell. And this was the thing about Germany. Germany could never compete with the rest of the world in industrial output.
They didn't have the oil.
Starting off, their Luftwaffe was such a dangerous, potent weapon, but they could not sustain that.
They kind of had a similar issue to Japan. I mean, Japan had less resources, but they had veteran pilots.
Starting off with a absolutely dominating military machine up against opponents who had gotten quite
soft.
Yeah, you could say soft. Well, I mean, the French military at the time was the best in the world on paper.
Yeah, but they got completely caught.
They had the best technology, like the French tanks versus everyone. Okay, you mentioned German tanks, 1939. Like you immediately think like the Tiger. That doesn't come out till way later.
No. The French could have crushed the German army.
Okay, so the most prominent tank in 1939 was the Panzer Mark III.
Yeah.
Like the Panzer Mark IV is a beautiful tank, but they were in less numbers because that's their newest thing coming off the line. The Panzer IV is so successful that is the inspiration for the Tiger, but the Panzer III is very minusculely armored. The gun on it is very lacking. It's only a 57 millimeter, and it's going up against French tanks, and the French tanks were faster, better armored, bigger gun. and the French had 3 times the amount than the Germans did. But the Germans took the French by complete surprise, and
I mean, it all falls under the Maginot Line fucking disaster.
but it was also like you're up against meth troops, like that's.
Well, I mean, the Germans.
The French were lacking the will to fight, and the Germans were all hopped up on meth, and they were just gunning for a fight.
Like, I don't think we were going to get into this, but just in the thick of it, right at the cusp of the Battle of France, the real problem was they had a fight in Norway. The English and the French sent an unbelievable amount of units into northern Norway to fight that battle, and it was a complete fucking carpet, shift. Where the Germans were trying to get them to be less focused in France, and then when freaking Guderian, like when he did that, like through the forest to hit the Maginot Line,
no one expected it. Yeah.
He took such a gamble. They actually did get into traffic
it was
jams.
also Guderian and Rommel.
Yeah.
Their tank armies. They were told to wait for the infantry to catch up, and they just kept going. Like, no, we're on
the whole
we're
plan.
on
You're in a single file. You are so vulnerable. You can't stop. You gotta go. And they caught
this was military doctrine at the time, and Guderian, he's the architect of the Blitzkrieg, and this is just like, okay, like the troops are performing exceptionally, and that's the math. It's you can't keep that up forever, but this is they had troops
and
going.
By the way, Ian, you keep saying the word meth. I believe
it was called something else.
It was called Panzer Chocolate.
It was delicious.
It was very nutritious.
But this would keep like troops running for like 3 days at a time with like little sleep. Like
it
they
also
don't have
helps
to
you
eat
do
very
war
much.
crimes too.
Oh yeah, so they just they.
But no military has ever been under the illicit drug use. Like, no military, especially not in Vietnam, used any illicit drugs that might have caused certain massacres and villages to happen.
Well, wasn't it Genghis Khan who, it was the first time that...
Genghis.
Yes.
Excuse me. I work for Kings and Generals, and we got an expert on Mongol. He would kill me.
So Genghis Khan, his introduction to the assassins.
Oh fuck yeah!
And this is where our knowledge today comes from. The assassin. It's the hashish assassins.
Yeah.
But it was Genghis Khan's introduction to them that made that public knowledge that they were all hopped up on hash and.
Really? I didn't know this.
But that's why, like the term, like somebody would explain it better than me.
Actually, this is news to me. I mean, I'm not an expert in Mongolian Empire history, but like.
But it was
the assassins were hopped up on like drugs.
On hash, yeah.
I mean, okay.
I don't see how it makes it more efficient.
This is why this podcast is interesting.
Viking berserkers, they used to eat a lot of mushrooms,
yeah.
And then
naked too.
Yeah, and they run down naked, and it's like.
And today, Zelensky uses cocaine. Jokes, everybody. He wasn't caught on camera doing cocaine recently, but
he was an actor. Of course, he was doing cocaine.
Of course,
he was a comedian actor.
So
of course, there's
bat bombs.
You were going to explain. You were going to explain bat bombs.
Genghis Khan, like shit. But this is why I wanted to do this type of podcast. And for people who are visually watching this, if I have the courage. The patrons are going to get to see us do this. We look drunk. There is cans everywhere.
Yeah, this is absolutely scripted, by the way.
Of course. So the bat bombs. God damn it. To get back to this. So you got to imagine, halfway through the freaking war, Pacific War, they're thinking to themselves, okay, Japanese houses made of paper, made out of wood. What is a good way to screw up Japan?
Oh, I think I know where you're getting at.
So they're like, oh, we're going to light it on fire. How are we going to effectively light it on fire? Some guy comes up with the idea, we're going to attach incendiary bombs to bats. Because the bats are going to go during the day, find a nice little attic to roost, and then, the timed bomb will go off.
But this was inspired by something that... Because I remember watching something, and it was... It was pigeons and.
Oh no! That's the next one. I don't want to talk about that. But that one is That's a psychology thing.
No, but it's this exact thing, and it was this.
It's pigeon-guided missiles, yeah.
Hey you ever hear me talk about some great Pacific War movie or documentary like Pearl Harbor minute by minute over on Netflix and feel the urge to watch it for yourself? Uh-oh, you live in Japan and your Netflix doesn't have it? Must suck to be you.
Sucks to be me right now.
Oh wow, season 4 of Demon Slayer is out. Oh wait, I can't watch it on Canadian Netflix, but it's over on Japan Netflix? Whatever will I do?
Oh, no.
Being blocked from regional content? With private internet access, you too can watch Demon Slayer Season 4 by switching your IP address to Japan.
Yes! Hell yeah!
Why stop with Japan? With private internet access, you can change your IP address to over 84 different countries and every single US state, giving you access to region-restricted content all over the world.
Nice.
Many websites and services like Netflix are only accessible depending on your physical location, but private internet access helps you overcome these restrictions. Think about it, without private internet access, it's like paying for a TV series and missing out on the latest season. Shots fired, Demon Slayer on Canadian Netflix.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
Ever fear people are gonna find your Google searches?
Banzai! Banzai! Banzai!
FBI, open up!
Private internet access makes sure that those Google searches remain a buried secret, as private internet access encrypts your internet access and has a no logs policy. Think you're safe with the local coffee shop's free Wi-Fi? No, you are certainly not. Private internet access gives you more privacy features than any other software, and real-time protection from malware and trackers, giving you peace of mind knowing those Google searches remain seen by you and you alone. Private internet access has a no-log policy that they've defended in court, which means they are not storing any of your browsing data. Hey, are you like me using different devices under one household? Private internet access is available on all platforms and protects an unlimited amount of devices at the same time. I personally use private internet access to unblock movies and TV series from all across the globe, and I sleep easier writing scripts for my YouTube channel and others knowing my data is secure. Look, this is a no-brainer. Sign up with my link in the description of this video to get 83% off, plus 4 months for free, so it ends up being only around $2 per month. Signing up for private internet access is risk-free. There's a 30-day money-back guarantee, and 24/7 customer support is available. So don't forget to click www.piavpn.com/The Pacific War Channel, and a big thanks to Private Internet Access for sponsoring this video.
I'll bring it up after this, but for the bat bombs, I just want to bring this up. So they make 2 mock villages, and it works so well. Unfortunately, the bats actually burnt a bunch of military camps, but it was deemed so unbelievably unfeasible and messed up because like they had these huge canisters full of this Mexican something-tailed bat that apparently the bats wouldn't wake up on time and stuff, and they ended up not actually using it.
Were they teenagers?
I guess. But since Ian's hopping the gun and he's so excited, I do want to talk about pigeon-guided missiles.
Homing pigeons from worms.
So for my longtime audience, people, I've said it, and it always surprises people. My degree is in neurobehavioral science. I have a second degree in history. For my actual work, I do psychology stuff, and a very famous person in the history of psychology is B.F. Skinner. Famously, he was a guy who trained animals in operational conditioning and pigeons. He used to teach pigeons how to play ping pong. That sounds fucked up, but that's
think about it. It makes so much sense. Pigeons used to deliver messages.
Exactly, yeah. Pigeons. He loved pigeons, and he told
they were the owls in Harry Potter, basically.
they were the owls in Harry Potter.
Before there was Harry Potter. It was.
Harry, we got a pigeon here.
It's on fire.
So B.F. Skinner, he sells this to the United States Army. He's like, you can't get. They don't have electric guided missiles. Obviously, this is World War II. You want to hit ships. You want to hit specific targets. I can train pigeons to guide your bombs to their targets. So what he does, he has a pigeon inside of whatever the mechanism is. It's like the missile to bomb. And he puts basically a screen in front of the pigeon where it pecks at the screen where, let's say, a ship is. So the ship's in the middle of the screen, it kind of moves around at the target, and the pigeon keeps pecking. The pigeon gets like little treats if it pecks to the right place. What's so fucked up about this story is B.F. Skinner got it to work, and he showed them it effectively did work. Unfortunately, the amount of time it would take to train, like the number of pigeons to do this thing was just astronomical. So the U.S. Army basically told him to go fuck himself. But he had effectively trained pigeons to guide bombs to hit ships out in the ocean. And on a secondary note, there was a other guy, again from the OSS, some guy in the old CIA, who had the idea of using cats to guide bombs to hit ships. And I quote, his rationale for this was cats don't like water, so given the choice, if a cat's attached to a parachute with a bomb, they would choose to land on a ship rather than the ocean. And they literally tried to do this, and apparently a bunch of cats just passed out with the parachutes and they gave up doing it.
So sad.
And again, this is the precursor to today's CIA. If you want other reasons to hate the CIA, this kind of incompetency is unbelievable.
I don't like cruelty to cats.
Cruelty and stupidity. You're gonna attach a bomb to a cat and think the cat's gonna leave her the fucking parachute to hit a ship? Like, what?
Knowing my cat, no, they're too lazy for that. But I was just trying to look up flaming pigeons because
What the hell are you talking about?
well, it was something that I saw and I forget from where, but it's there. Like I'm thinking about it, and it was this unorthodox general, and he was outnumbered, and he was sieging a city, and he had. His last gambit was like he started releasing pigeons to into the city, and then they would come back to him because he has all the food for them, and it was like he had trained.
Oh, I've heard of this.
And then finally he lit all the pigeons on fire, and their instinct was to go to the city, and then they just basically.
This
lit
is
the city on
northern.
fire.
I think this is in northern Italy in the Middle Ages. I am not good history when it comes to the Middle Ages, but
This is like it's like I'm remembering just partial fragments of it, and so like I'm absolutely butchering it, but it was pigeon
it's
warfare.
pretty terrifying. Flaming pigeons. I mean, you probably like back then you think, oh my god, this is an omen from God that we're gonna die. Yeah.
And that's like when you saying like the bat bombs, like yeah, they would go back to their roost. It's like they were doing that, and it was in like the Middle Ages and stuff.
You know, one that we both probably know about. I mean, this one is more famous. A lot of people know this one. It's sad, but the World War II, the anti-tank dogs.
Oh, I hated that. So we were just saying earlier on, not was it this podcast or the one before? We were just saying, yeah, we both grew up with dogs. We're dog people.
So
we
now
love
you're
animals.
acknowledging we're filming this back to back, and that's why we're so drunk.
No, I'm saying we could have.
Yeah, but the anti-tank dogs. I mean, oh, what a dumb. I mean, there's so many people did YouTube videos on this, but
Yeah,
the Soviets came up with this one.
Yeah, and I mean it was a brilliant success. Oh wait, that would be opposite day.
Yeah, it turns out, just for those who don't know what the hell we're talking about, so the Soviets in World War II were looking for ways to counter German panzer units, so their armored tanks, and they were like, oh, we need to somehow get the mines under the tanks to blow them up, and our humans aren't willing to just do that themselves, like actually the Chinese did during World War II, sad thing. Let's attach the mines to the harnesses on dogs. So they tried to train dogs to run under tanks and, suicide blow up the tanks. One problem that the Soviets faced, unusual one for them.
The dogs got scared.
Soviets lived in a cold temperature, like us Canadians. They used a different type of diesel fluid for their tanks. They trained on their tanks, so when these dogs were trained, they were trained to smell their own diesel.
Oh, I didn't. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
I was not thinking that. Yeah, because
So-
I know the end result.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a great point.
these-
Why?
Apparently, a lot of German
Oh.
tank commanders reported seeing dogs go under Russian tanks in front of them and blow up. So the dogs that these Soviets trained blew up a bunch of their own tanks. So I think they canceled the program at least by 44.
Yeah, I knew it was. It didn't work in the Russians' favor. Like basically, the dogs just kept running back and blowing up their own tanks.
Yeah, it's because they didn't understand that for the dogs, it's not necessarily the visual of the tank. It was that they would smell the diesel and they know to go underneath there. So they ended up blowing up the Soviet tanks more so because
Trump would say, they were dogs. They were beautiful dogs.
They were dogs. They're very beautiful dogs. They died like a dog.
Abdul Baghdadi. He died like a dog.
I said, "Oh no, don't grab." Okay, we're going around.
But it's a Shane Gillies bit. It's like, yeah. But, I mean, that's open to
by the way, as sad as that story is, by the way, sequel. The Vietnamese, they learned that technique and they did try to use it to attack the French. So in the first Vietnam War, I guess it is the Viet Cong. Yeah, it's Viet Cong used it. Are they technically the Viet Cong? And
it's Ho Chi Minh's army.
It's Ho Chi Minh. Yeah, so he used it against the French, and apparently it worked much better.
I mean, fun fact: Ho Chi Minh loved Americans, loved them, and at this point, like during their altercation with pushing the French out of Vietnam, relations between the U.S. and Vietnam were actually pretty fucking stellar. And Ho Chi Minh literally loved Americans. Yes, he was a communist, but he wanted to bring American ideals because he loved everything West. He wanted it was a breakdown of diplomacy between the States and Vietnam, but they were going to start being capitalists first. They were ready.
The real lesson of the Vietnam War is fuck France. Pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, us as Canadians, myself, reading too much on the genocide of Rwanda, I would agree. Fuck France, fuck Belgium.
Fuck Belgium too. Yeah, no, Belgium, they get a special screw.
No, but it was Belgium started that whole affair, but France was in the shadows, orchestrating so much with the UN. France was the one who was preventing the UN from making it a Chapter 6 mission rather than a Chapter 5, and the difference between Chapter 5 and Chapter 6. Chapter 5 is you are only allowed to fire unless fired upon, and you cannot intervene unless fired upon. So basically, the mission, whereas Chapter 6 is you have, it's not, okay, go gun crazy. It's Chapter 6 gives you the authority to intervene when deemed necessary. And so basically them being left on a Chapter 5 mission, the UN, it was, you're allowed to watch the genocide, but unless you're being personally attacked, you're not allowed to do anything. And they were attacked, and there was the incident of 13 Belgian soldiers being mutilated, but that wasn't enough to change things. But yeah, it was the French who were because they still have their permanent seat on the UN Security Council, and these are power mongers.
At the very end of the Rwanda genocide, who came in like they were saving shit? Those fucking French bastards.
Absolutely, because Dallaire was pushing for more UN reinforcements, and most of the UN was on board for making Rwanda a priority mission. But France kept saying no.
And people have no idea. Like, honestly, most of my audience is probably American. They have no idea why we have a strong position on this. The backstory is, during the Rwanda genocide, a very famous former senator for Canadian...
But before that, he was famous Canadian general, and he's famous for being the head of the UN mission in Rwanda.
And he basically was thrown into a situation where he had only a handful of men. He was given no help, and he had to walk. It ruined his life.
It goes deeper than that. Like, the UN actively was sabotaging his. It's a whole thing. Like it's so brutal. Like it's so disgusting what the UN did. It's so disgusting.
If anyone is interested in the story, a very famous book by Robert Dallaire,
Shake Hands with the Devil. And this man was so traumatized. He lives in Ottawa, and he developed a very serious alcohol problem. I mean, the PTSD from this event, like, one can only imagine. And so people would find him in our capital city of Ottawa, they would find him middle of the night, drunk on a park bench, just sleeping and rambling, and it was just such a common occurrence. He was later made a Canadian senator, and
Which,
I mean, the point of this story was like fuck France, and this
and
was,
Belgium.
I mean,
Belgium has a special.
there's only two people in this world I can't stand, and it's people who are intolerant of other people's cultures, and the Dutch.
And Dutch.
Wait, the Dutch are Netherlands, not Belgium.
I was gonna say I don't know where you're going with that one, but yeah, see, you know,
I'm sorry, Dutch people, sorry.
c'est pas comme si tu es une personne à France là. C'est pas quelque chose personnellement là. C'est juste votre gouvernement. The things that your government's done. Like France, you get away with so much, especially with shit you did in Africa.
Sure, like where's the Foreign Legion right now? What are they up to? What are they doing? Exactly. No,
They did a lot of shit.
they're everywhere in Africa still. They're still in Southeast Asia everywhere, and they're just like creating freaking havoc. Everyone loves to say that it's the states that has their hands in the cookie jar
France gets
everywhere.
away with everything. No one talks about Southeast Asia is a mess, and you're like, oh, you want to point fingers at the old British Empire? That's not. Look at France. France did so much shit, and no one goes after them. It's hilarious. They're so like hidden to the side.
Yeah, they get away with everything. It's,
Like Germany's always in the news. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fair. Like, okay, they are the number one economic power in Europe.
I think I might get canceled for this episode, but certainly my French viewership from France, at least the Quebec will love this, but the French are gonna hate this episode.
France isn't real Quebecois. Like I'm just gonna say that if they cared about Quebec, they wouldn't have. Okay, so post 7 Years' War,
Jeez.
after planes.
This is going way out. Okay.
No, but the Empire of France was given England. The British Empire won the war, and they took North America, but they were given a choice. They gave the Empire of France a choice. We'll let you keep one of two. You can either have your sugar colonies in the Caribbean, which only had 2,000 French citizens. I'm not going to say how many slaves. Very numerous. And
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
or you can keep New France, which is Quebec. And Nouvelle France, New France. Okay, we won the war. Okay, it's New France.
Okay.
No, but the population of Nouvelle France
And you know
was
what? They chose right,
it
to be
was
honest.
it was at most 90,000 French citizens.
My God, yeah, I don't know.
But France was like, I mean, without a doubt, and
Without
without even a
French.
conversation, they just like, we'll keep our sugar colonies. Point being, is like the sugar colonies were operated by slaves, and they were extremely profitable, and
it was the right choice.
their largest colony outside of France itself, like their largest French population outside of France, it's like they didn't give a shit. They're like, yeah, you guys aren't bringing in money. You guys are just fucking beavers all the time.
What you're trying to say is we're a bit butthurt, and then a certain
The
shoulder.
Quebecois, they should be butthurt. France abandoned them.
And then you have this
And-
asshole Charles de
And
Gaulle
then
comes there.
stepdaddy England comes in, or I shouldn't say stepdaddy, but like, what would you say? Like, okay, foster daddy England comes in.
Well, stepdad is pretty good because he's the guy that picks up the pieces after.
Yeah, well, okay, well, Mama England, or Papa England, no, Papa France went to the store for a pack of cigarettes, never came back, and
Now
see, this is why we have to have this style podcast with Justin, because I want to do these Quebecois.
Ian is a grant. He wants to do a 7-year fucking war podcast. We're gonna do it with Justin, who you think is gonna get like.
He's Quebecois.
He's Dutch. He's Dutch. He's like Dutch down to the 16th century. But anyways,
He's so French, though.
he's more French than us.
Yeah. Well, for those who don't know, we're born in Quebec, but we're what's called Anglo-Quebecers.
I speak French.
Obviously, your wife is French.
Yeah, okay, we're Anglophones. Our first language is English. That's what he means to say, yes. We're second-class citizens in a society. We're treated as function. But, you know what, we've been going on for an hour.
No, but I do tease that the 7 Years' War, maybe the audience would have...
if you want to hear about the 7 Years' War and us ranting about... Honestly, I have a lot to say about Montcalm.
It starts with something. So here in Canada, we had a publicly funded documentary series called Canada People's History. And
no one didn't know that. Yeah.
But is it, how would you say it's like a visual documentary?
It's
like
commercial-based visual documentaries.
No, but it's the actual series itself. Like, what do you? It's where like you watch the scenes play out.
State-sponsored history.
It's a reenactment.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a reenactment of certain things, and then you have these profile moments where it's like the characters are sitting down in front of the camera and explaining themselves. So you have like Benjamin Franklin explaining about his perspective of the Nouvelle France, like the French north of the States, and yeah, he had an opinion.
Yeah, he certainly had an opinion.
And the whole point was like, okay, because Justin, he doesn't know history at all, and
it'll be funny.
Yeah. We're gonna make him watch that, and then we'll come on, and then we'll do like a podcast this style, and we're just gonna riff on the 7 Years' War and make a couple.
I mean, for you guys who are part of my American audience, this is going to touch on some wars that we had between what will be Canada and the United States. It's actually a lot of
Washington will be mentioned. I know. Okay, for American listeners, I know it's the French Indian War. Sorry.
Well, you can call it. It's interchangeable.
No, but it makes perfect sense for Americans to call it the French Indian War for them, because that was the. That was the only theater of the war that they were involved in for the English Empire, for us in Canada, and that it involved several continents.
Yeah, it was more important for us. For Americans, it was another sideshow.
Yeah, it was. For the 7 Years' War, American side, it really was just trying to expand their territory, but. For the continental powers, it was the last time that the French and the English truly fought who were the masters of the world.
Because they had a few skirmishes like out in the ocean and not in Africa after that, but like
this was the fourth war in like 150 years. Used to remember all this stuff, but this was the deciding point where it was like, who is going to be the supreme imperial power? Because up until this point, it was anyone's game.
Yeah, France never had enough in the game. It was the British Navy. If you don't control the waterway,
it was a game changer.
If you don't control the Atlantic, that was the whole thing. You might have the troops. You might have the troops, France, but if you can't bring them over, it's like
lesson learned. World War II. U-boats were so incredibly effective, but they couldn't control the Atlantic.
Well, they almost did. U-boat campaign was
it was doomed to fail. No, okay. Let's say the U-boat production had been ramped up 500%. It's still
effective. It was effective.
No, it was effective, but it still wouldn't have been enough because the game had changed and the tactics had already started to adapt to the U-boat, and it wasn't. They were not allowing the U-boats to run rampant anymore. They were containing them, and with every given month, the technology advanced in surface radar and aerial reconnaissance.
World War I, the U-boat.
But this is like, okay, 41, 42, yeah, the U-boats, that fucking meant.
It was terrible.
43, there's a reason why U-boats, being stationed on a U-boat, you had the worst mortality rate amongst any military unit of the German arsenal. 75%.
God damn, we bounced a lot in this podcast. This has been an incoherent jarble of like schizophrenia.
Kind of. It's like
Yeah, what have you been thinking in your mind lately? Let's just get those thoughts out.
So here we're gonna end off with this. This is a complete experiment. I thought we would actually like say a lot more weird, wacky, dumb shit and make some dumb stories of it. If you guys like this, I really need you to tell me. You can go over to my Discord. Just check out my YouTube channel, Pacific War Channel. There's a link somewhere to enter my Discord, and please tell me any of your comments. You can go on my YouTube channel and just lay down some comments, because unfortunately with the podcast platforms like Spotify and all that, you can't really comment. That's like honestly a huge problem with audio podcasts.
Yeah.
There's no good feedback. It's just you just see the downloads. That's it. And so just let me know if you like this. For the patrons, please, if you see this, please, for love of God, comment. If you hate this, let me know. It's fine. This might be a bigger thing later, and this might get wilder, because I do want to I wanted to talk about. I wanted to actually just spend an episode making fun of Alexander the Great, because I thought it'd be funny. But we'll see what happens in the future.
I mean, next time when we talk about the 7 Years' War, somehow Alexander can come up. Like, look how we tangented this. It's just like that's usually the way it goes with us, like slightly autistic. It's like start talking about one thing, and then it's just like, you know, you open up the rabbit hole to something entirely different.
I'm an autist, actually.
I'm an artist.
Oh, well, good for you. Again, for
I apologize for the commentary. I'm not making fun of autism. I am on the spectrum.
I literally run a special needs program for a school board. So yeah. But anyways, for anyone who wants to support me, again, it's www.patreon.com/Pacific War Channel, where you can find exclusive podcasts. I hope you're not visually watching this,
because you're just doing your plug, and it's like, yeah,
I'm so used to it. I record every day of my life. I do so many podcasts, but I've got 16 plus podcasts now. Every month there's a new one. For as little as $2, it's all yours. If you want to give me more, by all means, I have other goodies. Like I can do live hangouts, little gaming sessions, your name in the end credits, my YouTube episodes and such, and voting rights on all the polls. So you get to say what you want the next episode to be. And there's been some interesting ideas there.
Actually, you've shown me some of it, and honestly, that is a great tool. Like hearing from the community, what the community would love to hear about. Like that would be great. Like if we keep like a format like this, like where we just like shoot the shit, but there's like a conversation that the community would like to hear about. I mean, that's cool.
That's the dream. I keep saying it to Ian. I am called the Pacific War Channel, but unfortunately, I do a whole podcast for another company about the Pacific War, so I might as well do general history.
And I love talking. Obviously, I think I've been leaning a little too European today, like European War. Well, the Atlantic Theater of.
Who doesn't like the Atlantic Theater?
Well, it's just that's what I'm reading more and into that a little bit more lately. It's just whatever.
But yeah,
can I plug my channel?
Oh god,
Are
you sure you want to do that? Because I essentially
so my channel is onlyfans.com/Ian-Rhodesia-Smith. I make videos weekly. They are not of an erotic nature. Most of it is. So there's like a booming rabbit population in my town, and I like to go around and film them. And so I got weekly videos of rabbits, and
people are gonna look this up.
I'm just saying, if you like rabbits, Rhodesia.
By the way,
yeah, I'm sorry.
For those curious, he does have a YouTube channel, and if you find it, good for you. It's gonna be funny.
Actually, no, I like my YouTube channel because that's where I save all my. I don't have much on there, but like my favorite clips of myself playing video games. So a lot of World of Warships.
My real hardcore Pacific War fan audience, if you really do love me, look up. Can I say the full name of the YouTube channel? Look up Ian Smith on YouTube. You will know what it is because it'll be a guy pointing a gun somewhere. And it'll have
if you YouTube Ian Smith, the first thing you're gonna get is pages upon pages upon pages
of the King of Rhodesia.
Excuse me, he was the former Prime Minister.
The King of Rhodesia.
It was a better country.
Anyways.
No, well, they did. I
it.
recently watched an interview with Ian Smith talking about like, what do you think about Mugabe? And he flat out says like, look at Mugabe in the last 10 years. He's done more terror to this country, more genocide. Myself, like when Ian Smith was a booming power. He was.
You have no affiliation to Rhodesia. You just share the same name as the guy.
I share a spirit through name.
He's an evil bastard too. You know that, eh? They called them the Rhodesian Death Squads for a reason.
Okay, well, first of all, Leonardo DiCaprio.
This isn't the Blood Diamond movie. This isn't Leonardo DiCaprio glorifying some lost fucking gods.
When she calls him South African, he's like, "I'm Rhodesian."
No, I think you mean Rhodesian. All right, we're gonna end it there.
Yeah,
before this gets me more canceled.
Might have to cut that last 2 minutes.
This has been the Pacific War Channel. Go find Ian Smith's YouTube channel and tell me
if you like World of Warships. I got I think a Fallout 4 video.
And if you like Ezra Lane. Over and out.